So here I am again. I didn't plan on making a video today. I decided to start this one in the third quarter this time because the Celtics are down 24, something like that. Gallo just hit another three. And I feel like some people might do the spiel, oh, well, Gallo, he hit a bunch of tough threes. Trae Young hit a bunch of tough threes. It's like, well, how long are we going to do this spiel with the Celtics where it's, oh, it was just tough shot making by the other team? There's a one common denominator here of guys making tough shots on the Celtics. It's the Celtics. And, I mean, how many times have I said lack of intensity with this team? I say it every video. I acknowledge that I say it every video. I'm going to say it again here. And it's not just on defense. I mean, that's the big one, of course. But it's on offense as well. They're walking into their sets. It seems like every time they get an offensive set started, there's already 14 seconds left on the shot clock or whatever. And it also seems like as the game goes on, they stop moving the ball around as much. And it's like, they need more playmaking, and I get it. Kemba in and out of the lineup, Marcus Smart out, lost Gordon Hayward. Defense, don't have Marcus Smart. But, I mean, I'm sitting here scrambling for something else to say on these things. I don't know what else to say. This team is starting to remind me of a much less talented version of the team from 2 years ago, where they're out there and they don't look like a team. They look like a bunch of guys who just happen to be wearing the same jersey. Now, I know this isn't the same thing because I know all these guys like each other. There's no story of, there's rifts behind the scenes and maybe something will come out now because this is going to be another big loss for them. But it seems like they all like each other. I mean, Tatum and Jalen are good buddies. Kemba likes everyone. Marcus Smart, while he's certainly a guy who will get in somebody's face if they're not doing their part, and same with Tristan Thompson, they all seem to be on the same page. I don't think this is a matter of, the chemistry being bad off the court, but it's just not translating to much togetherness on the court, it feels like. And, I mean, look, obviously Brad deserves some blame for what's going on. There's just no way he doesn't. That said, I've seen the fire Brad Stevens thing a bit on Twitter. I don't think it's as bad as I sometimes believe it is, which doesn't make any sense, I know, but I just think, how many coaches in the NBA are definitely better than Brad Stevens? I would say Popovich and Spoelstra. Anybody else, it's arguable. Is Brad better than Coach Budenholzer? Maybe. I mean, Brad just outcoached Nick Nurse when they were, in that series together. Should be said, Popovich was doubted by some people the past few years. Spoelstra's team is not good at the moment, and it's not like all of Spoelstra's teams have been good. The point being is, every coach goes through this sort of thing except for basically Phil Jackson and Red Auerbach and Popovich for the majority of his career. So just the whole fire Stevens thing, come on, okay? I mean, I saw somebody tweet, what has Stevens done since 2018? Literally everything last season. Did you just sleep for a whole year or something? But he still does deserve some criticism for what's going on here. I mean, they've been trying the two big man lineup thing, and sometimes the spacing is bad. Sometimes Tyson Thompson have some cool high-low action going on. The thing about if they go with three centers, as in each plays about 16 minutes a game, then Robert Williams doesn't get to play as many minutes, and he's been really good, at least the best he's been throughout his career so far this season. It also would expose their lack of wing depth, and that's the thing, right, is you can get on Danny Ainge about just how bad he's done at acquiring fringe players. Look, I mean, in terms of Tatum and Jalen and Kemba, and he's done great. And this idea of the Kemba contract was bad. Well, I'm sorry Danny Ainge can't tell the future and saw that Kemba was going to get hurt. I'm really sorry about that one, okay? But I can definitely see the idea of it's Grant Williams, it's Semi Ojeleye, it's Javonte Green. It's what the hell? Can there be one 6'7" dude who can make a shot and go off the dribble and play some defense that the Celtics just acquired? An example being, I mean, Toronto got Anunoby with what draft pick? I don't remember what. They got Siakam in the 20s. Why have the Celtics never had that sort of pick? I mean, the closest thing they've had to that is this season with Peyton Pritchard, who I think can be pretty good, and probably already is pretty good, to be honest. But it's It's just when you do that year after year after year, what ends up happening is you have a front-loaded roster. And last year it was fine because it's Tatum, Jalen, Kemba, Smart, Hayward. Well, suddenly Hayward's gone, Kemba's in and out of the lineup, and Smart's been out for a month. Well, now it's Tatum, Jalen, and a bunch of guys who can only do one thing, and most of them are defensive players. But even with all that said, it still does not excuse the lack of fight in this team right now. I mean, they finally started trapping Trae Young a little bit in this game. It was too little too late at that point. The traps weren't even that good, to be honest. And it was the same thing in the Pelicans game. And, that video already is what it is. But if I look at this team and I'm just like, well, what the hell do they have to do to get better? Besides just simply play harder. I mean, Brad could go to just 4 wings and a center. It would probably be Tatum, Jalen, Tice, and then the 2 other guys. I mean, you're picking either Grant Williams or Semi Ojeleye at the 4 spot. Or you can go Nesmith in there, and I guess Tatum would be defending power forwards, which Tatum has done for a chunk of his career anyway, so that's fine. And then maybe Pritchard as your starting point guard. It's kind of wild to say that the solution is starting 2 rookies, but I mean, at this point, you could convince me of anything on how to fix this team. Maybe Robert Williams needs to start. I think he definitely has the most potential on the roster, besides Tatum and Jalen, of course. And besides that, I don't know, man. I mean, if you think about the perfect scenario for this team, it's Kemba's healthy, Smart is back, and then they trade for a good wing player who can shoot and defend and do something off the dribble. The obvious name is Harrison Barnes. The thing about Barnes is the Celtics would have to pay the luxury tax for maybe 1 season, perhaps more, depending on what Marcus Smart's extension looks like, so that makes a Barnes thing a little dicey, but the luxury tax goes up every year, and maybe they'd be willing to get off of some small contracts and whatever else, but yeah. I had a tweet where I said Evan Fournier. I think he would be cool. He might be a little cheaper than Barnes. He is at the moment. He wouldn't give them the same defense that other wings would give them, but in terms of just another guy who can space the floor out and all that, I think it'd be cool. And he's got some playmaking to him as well, about 3-4 assists a game. We'll have to see what ends up happening there, but it's not as if they're going to be able to pull off a move tomorrow. It's probably going to be at the deadline. So yeah, I mean, that's just the state of the team at the moment. They're going to be 2 games under 500 now. And if I just look at the standings in the East, I mean, they're going to be tied with the Knicks. Did the Knicks play tonight? I don't know for a fact, but they're now in the mix with basically the Pacers all the way down to Atlanta, maybe even Orlando if you want to go that far down. And the goal for the Celtics at this point needs to be to just finish at number 4 or 5, because at least then you're not getting the Sixers, Nets, or Bucks in round 1. And the hope would be, I mean, it still wouldn't be easy. You'd probably be facing the Pacers or the Raptors, but that's an easier opponent, of course. And if you manage to win that series, then maybe you got enough momentum going into a series against, Philly. And I mean, for what it's worth, I look at the Celtics roster and I picture a healthy Kemba, Smart back, good trade exception deal, Robert Williams, being healthy the rest of the way and growing more as a player, Stevens versus Doc Rivers. I actually think the Celtics could pull that off, but they would need to make some real strides and they would have to look a lot better than they do right now, of course. I mean, at the very moment, this team, if they ran into Philly in the playoffs, it'd be a sweep, no doubt about it. So yeah, they desperately need this All-Star break to come. And even then, Tatum and Jalen are playing, so I don't know how much those two are really going to be resting. But yeah, man, it's how it is this year, I guess.